welcome to Weird Awakenings. Tonight we're going to be talking about the awesome world of crystals and gemstones and fossils and just whatever else we can come up with. Both our bodies and crystals have energetic vibrations, so it kind of makes your body naturally receptive to the vibrations that gemstones have. And that's why they can be so powerful in helping you. And then you add to that, when you start putting your energy into them and your focus and everything, then that even makes it that much more so. I know people that carry certain stones with them wherever they go, and, some that they've got them all around them at all times. I know personally, I have them on my desk at work. I have them on my desk at home, so it's just kind of a part of who they are. So tonight we've got Miss Hadley Thorne with us. And we have Mr. Stephen Hill, and we have our friends from over at Where in the Folk, Tully and Cecil. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Great. Hey, everybody.
Beautiful.
Good. All right. Stones and crystals. What do you think? Do you have them in your home?
Yes. My wife has some, and I've got one that you sent me.
And that actually has 7 different ones and copper in it. So
that's nice.
Well, thank you. Yeah. That's my first attempt at healing pyramids. So you guys were my guinea pigs.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I'm starting to, I had to start somewhere. So why not?
Well, if my eyes start bleeding here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Boo Bradley tried to eat his.
Tell him no. It's going to be very painful to get back out if he does that. So, like I was saying, they've been used since ancient times. The Egyptians, the Aztecs, and others incorporated healing stones into jewelry, cosmetics. They put them in statues and amulets. So, they've been around for thousands of years.
Hey, Linda.
And Tully, I think you did some research on the history of when they started using them, didn't you? Did I put you on the spot, or did we lose him?
Oh, he muted
himself.
I hit my microphone a second ago, and it went off.
You see, you cursed yourself. You said it was going too smoothly.
I forget that, if you just barely touch it mutes itself. So I think that's what happened.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I did look into the history. I was curious of, I guess how and why people.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Started using crystals to begin with, and apparently, the oldest known use, they found amber amulets from allegedly 30,000 years ago.
Wow.
That supposedly hold, some sort of magical or medicinal property that they would have used it for.
Yeah, that's cool. I knew that they had been around forever, but, I didn't realize they went back quite that long because, just the records and everything. Like I said, you see so many different ones, and especially the Egyptian burial jewelry and stuff. A lot of those were because of what they considered their powers and everything.
Hey, Luna.
Hey, Luna.
And I was just looking at the highlights here. Apparently, even in the Quran, it talks about certain amulets.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the 4th heaven of the Quran is composed of garnet, which has significant power to those folks.
Yep.
What is that, Hindu? I can't ever remember. I get those confused.
The Quran is Islam.
Got you.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I know, like I said, and I think everybody that collects and anybody out there, please feel free to let us know what, stones you like and everything. There are certain ones that you're drawn to just because of the energy off of it. I pretty much wear amethyst every day. I keep lapis with me. It's very helpful for headaches. And I've always found that it does tend to help me relax some, when I'm having problems with migraines and everything. Fluorite is something that I've got tons of all around my house because it's just that stone that that green and purple energy, so to speak, that it has to it that I'm just drawn to. I know, a lot of times when you're drawn to something, it's because of what it can benefit you, but a lot of times it's just the energy itself, the vibration it gives off.
And what's interesting to me about it is it's not just associated with like one religion. It's literally, all religions at some point have utilized crystals for their properties. And even in Christianity, from what I saw back in the 1600s was the first, I guess, recollection of the use in the Christian application. There was a guy, and I would butcher his name for sure, but he worked for the king as a physician, and he thought that basically the crystals would do certain things if good angels. It said something to the effect of good or bad angels, so I'm assuming that means angels or demons. That the crystals would do different things if there were good spirits or like angels or demons for that matter.
Well, I know back in the Middle Ages, one thing that was really big with people, and I would say, a lot of times considering Christians because, of just the locale and everything. If you gave someone an emerald and the emerald cracked or shattered, it meant that they had been unfaithful.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. But that's how you could, that's how you knew someone was true to you, is because, they, that the emerald was still intact. So, I just thought that was very interesting that, it would do something like that or have that kind of meaning behind it,
Landa, do you think that the blue quartz and labradorite, is that
Labradorite?
There you go. Do you think that helps with like lucid dreaming, or do you just use it for like to sleep well? We can talk while
Yeah.
not heard.
And yes, that's I know Luna had questioned about rubies, and we've posted some stuff up there too. Ruby is also considered a sunstone. That it harnesses the power and everything that symbolizes the sun, because it's considered like an inextinguishable flame. Go ahead.
I was just like to think about it, because there are, I mean, ruby looks cool, but there's way cooler looking crystals and stones out there. Why do you think they gave like an inherent value to some stones and not the other?
I think a lot of it has to do with the rarity, because things like rubies, the deep blue sapphires, diamonds, and things like that, they're so much more rare than some of the other ones. I mean, I've got like rough emerald and stuff that, it wasn't very expensive, but you're never going to shine it up and put it in a ring either, because, it's just, it's not that grade of emerald. But like I said, the meaning behind it and the properties are the same as if it were that, $50,000 1 carat perfect emerald and everything. So, I think a lot of people think that the shinier it is or the more, rare it is, that the better it is. And that's not necessarily true. Not when you can get something with the same exact properties and much less as far as cost.
That's interesting, Landa.
Wait, let me read what Landa wrote so people that are listening can hear. Landa wrote back that it helps her check on her people, as weird as that sounds.
And I don't think it necessarily sounds weird, because like I said, it's a tool that you use, with, that helps you do that. I mean, so, and there have always been people that have used them for, different things, for helping travel, or like I said, it's more than just healing. There are a lot of metaphysical properties that go them and everything.
You should talk about that, Stephen. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When it
Steve?
comes to,
Luna has written that raw rubies are better than cut, in her opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so ignorant when it comes to this stuff that I kind of forgot that diamond would fall into that category. Like I was like, a diamond ain't or nothing like that, but it really is. But
Put on.
I lay credence to it though, because as we know, like they knew things that we didn't know in the past.
Yeah.
And all these ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the ancient Greeks and everything like that, they all garnished these rubies and jewels and gemstones and stuff. So
Well,
there has to be something to it.
Diamonds were basically worthless until that company took over and
De Beers.
monopolized them, right?
Yeah, De Beers.
Yeah. And, and here's the thing too. And I mean, I know that a lot of times, the properties and everything for crystals, it's not just the stone itself, but it's the color vibration that comes off of it and everything. But I want someone to explain to me, not tonight, but at some point, what is the difference between, say, a pink diamond and a piece of Morganite they look almost identical?
Right.
Or, I mean, there are so many rare stones.
Well, it could be
that are considered diamonds, but they look just like other stones. So it's like, okay, a brown diamond or smoky quartz.
Well, if you get into I'll throw something off the cuff.
Mhm.
If you get into physics and string theory and the belief that the whole universe is vibration, which has been proven,
Right.
the molecular compositions would be kind of the variance there. Because if you think about diamond being the hardest, to me, if you're talking string theory, to have the hardest substance on Earth, you would have to also have maybe the tightest vibration, just the tightest composition of vibrations between those atoms. Like it's more dense, you know what I mean? Like maybe it can't hold power as well as, the other stone that you were talking about.
And that makes sense. That makes complete sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and Morgana, what you were talking about there with that, I told you we were talking before the show, and I have the crystals, where I can see something inside the crystals. I mean, they're as clear as glass in part of it. I mean, you can see through them.
Yeah.
And with the higher the grade of the diamond, the more clear the diamond is.
Yes.
The more cloudy the diamond is, that's the lower grade of diamond. So.
Well, my dad, I'm sorry, go ahead, Toby.
No, Mark's comment kept popping up. I couldn't read it. I would say, Mark, that the inherent value of that is more valuable than diamonds because there's a monopoly on diamonds that makes them so expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about diamonds, they have to be one of the most common ones around too. That's strange, isn't it? Like, apparently it's not hard to find diamonds in these mines that they have. Like,
no, they just have they have a grip on. I mean, they have the monopoly on it. They only release so many into circulation.
Right.
Isn't it amazing how they lay a monetization on one certain thing? Like it could have been anything that they said was worth this. Like a leaf was worth $10,000 or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same concept as Bitcoin. Bitcoin was worthless until somebody allowed it to be used as currency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Linda's asking if anyone's ever had a stone just completely disappear. She had a white onyx that disappeared overnight. I can remember having stones back over, I mean, I've been collecting them all my life, but I mean, there are things that I know I have that I no longer have.
And I'll say this, Landa. I've had jewelry over the years that I've lost stones out of. And my mother told me, and my mom was a rock collector. I mean, that's who got me going to gemstone shows and fossils and all that. She's also the one who would stop if a rock called to her from the side of the road. But she told me that when it's used up, all its energy, it'll lose itself to you. If that makes sense.
And I agree with you on that. I have had probably 4 different pieces of amber jewelry, and I have lost the stones out of every one of them. I don't know if they're used up or that's just not a stone I'm supposed to work with. I mean,
well, and I've refound the stones, and I just think that they, it's just like periodically you're supposed to cleanse your stones and crystals, and I'll do that periodically. And I think that when they've recharged, you might refind them.
Maybe
I haven't had anything disappear, but I had a piece of, like, the wishing stones, like you can just rub on.
Oh yeah.
I had a piece of, I think it was abalone, and I just had it in my hand one day, and it just breaks, like just out of nowhere. Like, I don't know what it means or whether it just ran out of juice, like you're talking about, but
sounds like a bad omen to me.
Could have been. That was probably right around the time that COVID started. So maybe it was just a negative.
My dad had, you're talking about a stone disappearing. My dad, he had found I don't know, we honestly thought it probably would have been a medicine stone because it was completely polished all the way around. It was about the size of the palm of your hand. And he had found that thing. And that one disappeared. And we have no idea where it went to. And as far as a rock calling out to you, I know a guy. He loves to go look for arrowheads. And he was out looking one day, and he had this is his words. He told me, he said, the rock called out to me, come over here. And what he found was a Dalton point.
What is that?
The Dalton point, that's the one that's fluted on the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think the Adena might be a little bit older than the next one was the Dalton.
I have have you ever heard of it's either Moki or Moqui marbles?
Yes, Smokey Marbles. And I can be totally wrong, but that's how I pronounce it.
Yeah, I think they come from like Oklahoma, but you talk about some with like some really weird energy coming off of them.
Oh, those are the ones that look like little skulls?
You're supposed to have a set.
Yeah, there's a male and a female.
A male and a female, and they're magnetic. Just a little bitty pull of magnetism in them.
And it's actually illegal. They're only in this one park, apparently, and it's illegal to take them anymore.
Yes, yeah, I've seen that.
I have a set of those, and I promise that if you hold them, like one in each hand, and do like a meditation or something, it's way crazier than like any other kind of meditation or like breathing exercises that you would do. Like, it's totally different feel.
Really?
Yeah. Very interesting. And I don't know what the deal is really with them.
I had a friend back, it's been many years ago now, but she made me, it was an amethyst necklace, and there's like an opaline angel stone that she has hanging from it. And then there's a goddess pendant that hangs from it also. I have to keep it in a bag. If I have it out, I either go insanely crazy dreams all over the place traveling, or I just can't sleep. I mean, it's that.
What's up, Rob?
It's that disruptive, to my sleep patterns and everything. Now, if I want to work with it, I can, but the rest of the time I have to keep it bagged.
Really? That's odd.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's to me that's a strange thing. There's so much out there that we don't necessarily have answers for.
If I ever see another set of Moki marbles, I'll get as many as I can and send you guys some. They're absolutely crazy, and like you said, Morgana, I do think they have magnetic properties. So maybe that has something to do with it. But
yeah, I also I don't know if you're familiar with it, lodestone. You actually need to feed it metal filings to keep the magnetism and the energy up on it and everything. I mean, and you drop those little pieces of filings on there and they just zap to it. And then over time, it's like the metal loses its magnetism and it starts flaking off. And then you put some more on there.
Weird.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, but it's really cool too, because it's just not something you think about. But I remember when I got it, we had a friend that had a shop up in Jackson for several years, and that's the only thing she told me. I'm like, oh, I need to take this home. She goes, well, just make sure you feed it. And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to feed it? She goes, metal. And she had a little bag behind the counter, and she started sprinkling it on there, and they just pulled straight to it. It was really cool. So yeah.
There's also cursed stones. I don't know if we want to get into that or not.
Before we get into those, I do have a question about the healing properties of all these. I'm like I said, I'm kind of ignorant to it. My wife's into it a lot, but like, what? No pun intended. But what if you take like these crystals and things and bust them up and like ingest them? Do they?
They actually did that back in the Middle Ages.
Okay.
It's some stones you can actually, I don't know if you've seen them, you can actually buy bottles now that have a crystal that screws onto the bottom, and there's like a cavity that it goes up into it, so it's surrounded by your drink, but it never actually makes contact, but it still gets those vibrations and everything. But there are some stones that are poisonous if you ingest them. Malachite being one of them. Raw malachite has a certain poisonous to it. So if you were to put that in water and drink it, it would make you ill.
Does it mess you up pretty good, or?
No, it doesn't make you that kind of ill.
What was Stephen? What was the reference that was in the Bible to the stones or the crystals and stuff?
Yeah, well, with that reference there, it's just it's to believers. It's what basically the Lord is saying. To those who overcome, that God's going to give them the hidden manna, and will give them a white stone, and in the stone, is going to be your new name in heaven.
That's crazy.
So, yeah,
that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And talking about some of the properties and stuff like that, I've got to throw some Bigfoot in here. Y'all know me, but I've got some crystals and Bigfoot. I've got a couple of stories with that right there. For me personally, I had found a crystal back when I was still doing the gifting stump, or what I called the gifting stump. I would arrange the rocks, and I had found a crystal a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, this is a pretty nice crystal. And so I brought it down and I put it on the gifting stump, and that's one of the rocks that never came back. The crystal disappeared. I've never seen it again. Now, Duke, who lives in Montana, in his area, in the area that he likes to go Bigfooting in, the ground is covered with crystal. And after he'd been at camp, he goes to the same spot every time. Well, he found piles of crystals there. So he talked to Robin, and Robin, who's able to communicate with him, they told Robin to tell Duke that they left those for him.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what exactly what the story deal is with the crystals. I know there's a little bit. Was it called piezoelectric that you get off the crystals? Did I say that right? Yeah. So somehow there's some connection with Bigfoot and the crystals.
I can remember back
I can see that.
Many years ago, I did a lot of freelance work for a feng shui consultant.
Oh.
And very interesting person, very interesting work. But she was the one who started me putting crystals between me and my computer. Because she's like, and this was, 25 years ago. That she's like, you need a crystal between you and that computer because of those EMF, and I'm like, okay, no problem. So, and I've kept them on my computers ever since. Every computer I own's got crystals on it or around it or something. So, and like I said, I know that citrine is a self-cleansing quartz, and it will also cleanse your other crystals. Quartz has cleansing properties. So, like I said, it makes sense to me that if they have cleansing properties, that they would absorb that negativity and everything too. and everything.
What kind of crystal can you get to help with the EMF from the monitors? Because I have 2, 4, 6, 9 of them in here.
I use quartz. I use quartz. It's like I said, I'm sitting here now looking at my computer. I've got 3 sets of quartz and lapis on one, and I've got 4 sets of quartz on the other one. Those are just the 2 right in front of me.
Next time I come down, Cecil, I actually ordered an EMF detector. Just because
you imagine popping off in this room.
Because just like Cecil, I also have monitors all over the place.
Yep.
And I've got a ton of different crystals and rocks and everything in this room, and unless you stick it right to the computer, you're not getting any EMF readings in here.
Right. Well, and the pyramids that I sent you all they're called Morganite, and it's the different crystals and stuff, and then the copper, and they're made specifically for EMF. I mean, that's what they're created for. So like I said, the stones that are in there are actually correspond with the different chakras, and then the copper itself helps absorb that.
Well,
so
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. That's another thing I have like 10 of sitting right in front of me are different pyramids with, different stones in them and stuff.
What Rob said is pretty interesting about the Bermuda Triangle. But here's the thing, Rob
from Out of the Blank.
Why did the Bermuda Triangle suddenly lose its juice like 10 years ago? Like, you haven't heard anything weird going on there in a long time. Maybe it's because they started firing CERN off.
CERN.
I knew CERN was going to be mentioned.
And I guarantee the Dalai Lama has something to do with it.
CERN or the Dalai Lama. Yeah, it could be one or the other. But when we jump timelines, maybe this timeline doesn't have a Bermuda Triangle.
Or the Bermuda Triangle's in a different place. Like whenever we jump timelines. Because, I mean, like Rob said, if the crystals settled at the bottom and the sediment and everything, it could just settled somewhere else in a different timeline.
Or, maybe there's so much more, the salinity's gone down so much that it's washed out all of that excess magnetism too.
What if there's some kind of sunken tech from
for sure
Atlantis?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least the Tartarian Empire, there is sunken tech all over the world from that.
Yeah.
Well, if the poles shifted, maybe it moved.
That's true too.
It might be out of a pathway.
All roads lead back to CERN.
I'm going to send you something.
I have CERN on the calendar for first part of next year. So I think you might need to research.
The reason Cecil brought up the Dalai Lama is because he dropped some truth bombs earlier this week about all this crazy stuff concerning the Dalai Lama.
Really?
It's mainly made up.
Well, that's something.
Actually, out of all the people in the world, he's the one that seems to have the least heat on him. There's still some stories out there, but
Well, okay, I'm going to be the odd person out and say not everybody is corpulently evil.
I don't think so either. There's probably 2 or 3 of them that's not. Totally.
There are 2 or 3 of us, just for the record. All right. So, okay, back before we got on, Tully, we were talking about fossils.
Yeah.
And whether they had properties. And they actually do. I
don't believe in fossils.
Well,
I really don't. Not in the sense that they're millions of years old anyway.
Okay, so what about petrified wood?
Not in the sense that they're millions of years old. Like I think there's fossils out there, but like maybe 10, 15, 20, 30,000 years old, something like that.
My parents have some fossilized wood. I've got some. It's in the same box that I can't find. Crystals.
Well, my uncle was a forester, and he'd gotten my mother a huge like trunk of petrified wood that was at her house, and I never could find anyone that could move it from there to here. But she complained about that. until her dying day, but she really wanted that back. But I've got a ton of rocks and stuff that she collected over the years, but that was one of the things that he had given her. But I don't know. Petrified wood exists, Cecil.
Well, I know it exists because there's a lot of it in Wyoming. It's called the Devil's Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Petrified tree trunk for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know I've got a piece of fossilized sponge that I actually got from the Petrified Forest in Florida, Mississippi, Cecil.
You know what?
I'm talking like dinosaurs and stuff.
I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yes, I can.
So this is a piece of petrified coral that I dug out of my yard.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's just the way that like everything's really clay here. Like there's a lot of clay. And every time they like make an area like this, you know, they're taking a lot of the topsoil to where you're down to kind of the next layer already.
Right.
And that's not the only one I found, but like you would find rocks and you would see all these little like bugs and animals and stuff in the rocks.
Yeah.
Very neat stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know, something that, you know, people do need to be careful of is a lot of times you'll go into a store or something and they will say, oh, we've got this stone. There are a lot of fake stones out there. And for example, a lot of times you'll see stuff in amber. If you see a whole scorpion in amber, 10 to 1, it is not real because, you know, you find bits and pieces of bugs in amber.
If you're I would say if you're going to get something like that, you're better off going to like an oddities dealer because their integrity and name is on the line when they're providing fossils.
Yes. Yes. And the same thing with a lot of crystals and stones is, you know, if you go to someone who that's all they deal in, you're more apt to get somebody who, you know, is dealing up front with you.
Don't order your crystals off Wish.
No, do not.
They're made in a lab.
You know, well, you know, sometimes it's not even that. I mean, I can make you
there's a lot of fakes.
An acrylic one if you'd like. Pick your stone. I'll make you an acrylic one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of the stuff that comes super cheap from overseas and stuff is just acrylics. Hey, Laura.
That's recently I was looking at this. It was like a 13, 14 inch quartz crystal point. It was as clear as glass. And it was like $4. And I'm like, yeah, not so much.
Yeah.
And you can, most stones, not all stones, but most stones, when you're holding them, if you don't feel anything else, they're going to be a little bit cooler to the touch. You know, like I said, because it's just the makeup of stones. Now, that's not to say that if there's not a heat vibration on there that you're not going to feel warmth and everything, but just the feeling of the stone itself tend to be more cool than like the surrounding area and everything. Because I know I can pick one up, like if we go to the flea market and somebody has stones, that's what I'll usually do is pick them up and feel if they're cool or if they're, you know, picking up the heat of the day. I mean, of course, if they're sitting out in the sun, they will, but, you know, just if they're sitting in a booth, they're generally going to be a little bit cooler.
I guess the main thing is just to find somebody who you feels like is reliable. Yes. Like for me, I usually, like you said, either a shop dedicated to that where their integrity and their business is on the line. If it is fake, you're more likely, unless you go dig it yourself. There's places where you can do that too. You
can, but be careful because funny off the wall story, but the first time my husband and son and I went to Arkansas strictly to dig for crystals, it was awesome. You know, we're digging along, we're finding crystals and everything. And my son kept picking up this one green stone. And I'm like, I'm not sure what that is, but if you hit it hard enough, it would break in half. Yeah, it was a cow pasture and they were seeding the pasture. And that was semi-disintegrated cow crap.
I've got a horrible story that's very similar to that I'll tell you guys off camera because it's pretty embarrassing to me.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, I would.
I've told you before.
in hindsight, we should have found a cave or something where they were doing, because there are tons of places in Arkansas to go dig for crystals or diamonds.
Oh, yeah, we've got crystals and fossils all over the, mostly seashells that I found, but I've got some spots. I mean, just a couple miles from my house that I can go pick up seashells right now.
Right, exactly. So there are plenty of reputable people out there. This was our first time, so I really didn't do a lot of research. I just said, "Ooh, that's within driving distance of where we're going to be." So let's.
There's still, I think, one state park that will allow you to dig for crystals.
Yeah, it's in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
Then
it's about 35 miles from my house.
Gotcha. That's really cool.
Okay, field trip to Stevens.
There was also it wasn't crystals. I think I was telling Morgana, you and Hadley about it. A place in Virginia where they have fairy stones.
Oh, like the fairy crosses and stuff?
Yeah, and you can go, I think it's a park too, but you can actually go and dig for these fairy stones. I'm sure there's pictures of it, but I know we've been having problems with pictures. But if you look up fairy stones, Virginia, it'll probably show what they look like. And those are supposed to have magical properties as well.
Yeah.
I think the fairy crosses may actually be in North Carolina, I think.
Oh, got you.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's all good. There's also up in Michigan, and I never thought about it. My husband used to go to this place called Petoskey. It's in the Upper Peninsula. And I had started working with a girl that was from up there, and she found out that, I collected some stones. And
hey, David.
Do you have any Petoskey stones? And I'm like, I've never heard of that. And it's actually like a fossilized stone, if I'm not mistaken. It's some kind of fossilized coral, I'm pretty sure. But so I asked my husband about it. He's like, well, hell, that stuff's everywhere. I just assumed it was just a rock. And I'm like, well, next time you go up there, get me one. I don't think I've been back since. So, that's, of course, the way it goes. But like I said, things that people, really don't think much about because they just see them every day, all day, and then somebody else comes along and there's a little bit more to it than that.
So do you think that stones and crystals have a memory?
I think
like I'll throw an example out. People who go to the Bell Witch Cave, if they take a stone from that cave, there's been people from all over the world send stones back to the owner of that farm because they take a stone from the cave and they're just tormented afterwards.
Really?
Yeah.
That Bell Witch story is crazy.
That there's another place. There's like a mountain somewhere out west
It's in Australia.
No, this is like in California or Arizona, or New Mexico, like out west. That if you take a stone from it, it gives you bad luck, and they have to send them back.
Yeah,
wow.
there's
like
also,
they tell people not to take them.
I forget what the name of this Aboriginal mountain is in Australia, but it's like you would know it immediately if you saw the picture. But they actually warn people not to do it, and I forget how many hundreds of stones they get back every month from tourists.
Crystals record things, and that's
Luna's got it. It was Virginia.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Luna. Crystals record things. So, like, if you have crystals, everything that you experience while you have that crystal is recorded, and that's when people can read them. Which that's one of the big things about the crystal skulls. Not a big crystal skull person, but I do know that's one of the things that they'll do. One of the ladies that I've studied with, she has a crystal skull. It's not one of the crystal skulls, but it is a crystal skull.
Right.
But he'll talk to her and tell her things.
So when it comes to
through the skull, hang on, we can't just brush over that. So they're communicating through the crystals.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I do not talk to crystals, no.
Yeah, but wasn't the original crystal skull?
They talk to you because that's how they get to you.
But wasn't the original crystal skull that was found? It was found in South America, I believe. That was the story on it. And the woman who's the curator of I don't know if it's Einstein or whatever the crystal skull's name is. I think she actually keeps it in a closet or something, doesn't she?
Right. It's not something that's kept out.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I can't think of what Duane calls her, but whenever we've had a class, she'll bring him, and he'll talk to some people.
Really?
I wish I could remember his name, but it's been a while, and I've been asleep.
That would be very interesting.
Would be
I think I would probably be pretty freaked out.
Oh yeah. I would.
That does count.
I mean, that's the equivalent of like a shrunken head talking to you or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like a real skull stuff.
Well, I know what you mean, but still.
But I mean, it's just like a conduit, I guess, maybe for. I think what she said to me, it's from Peru, and it's like a Peruvian shaman that communicates to her through it.
Wow.
Okay, would you rather talk to a Peruvian shaman through a crystal skull, or a shrunken head of like some random villager?
Shrunken head for me for sure.
I don't know. Well, you know, I've told you the story about my Bumblebee Jasper skull, hadn't I?
No.
I know I sent you a picture of it.
Yeah. I've seen it. I don't remember the story if you told me.
Well, I went to the store. It's a local store to me. They were closing down, and they were selling a bunch of stuff like 70% off. Or I never could have afforded to buy this on a whim. I walked in, and I had every intention of getting me a amethyst cascade geode. You know, those big ones that they're cut open and just for display. So I had every intention of getting one of those. And I knew I had a point in my mind that I was going to spend. And I go in there, and they just didn't speak to me. But there was this Bumblebee Jasper skull. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I left, and it just kept popping in my head. And that never happens to me. I'm not that kind of shopper. And so I called when I got home, and I said, I can't stop thinking about that skull. Do you still have it? And they did. And I said, well, okay, well, I'm going to come back. Like 2 days later, that's when their last day was. And I was like, I told myself, if he's still there, I'm going to get him. And the whole time, and usually, y'all know I don't leave my house. I'm not one that likes to go out much. And I went back, and he was still there. And I told myself on the way, okay, well, if you see somebody, you know, it's a sign you need to get him. I saw 2 people I know. I came home with that skull, and it just spoke to me. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but I knew that had to come home with me.
Isn't the Bumblebee Jasper one of the rarest?
Yes.
Like I feel like that's uber expensive
at a criminally low price.
Because when Morgana was talking earlier about, like, you know, the price of rubies and diamonds and stuff versus gemstones, the Bumblebee Jasper actually popped into my mind, because I'm pretty sure that's like toward the top of how the most expensive crystals and stuff that you can get.
Wow.
When I say I got it at a criminally low price, y'all, I mean, I got it like 70% off. And I've got a picture of it somewhere. If I send it to y'all, will you put it up?
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, that was one of those things that you're supposed to, you were supposed to have. I mean,
I knew it. I mean, like I said, he kept popping up in my head. And I mean this in a, like, I visually saw it, you know, like a photograph. It just kept popping into my head. And I was like, that I'm supposed to have this, but do I really want to spend that much money? Cause it still cost a pretty penny.
Yeah.
Well, that's, we have a gem and mineral show down here. I'm on the Mississippi Gulf Coast every year, and I go every year. You know, I mean, it's my one thing that I'm not going to miss. I don't care how bad I feel or whatever, I'm going to it. And every year but one that I have gone, I've won a door prize. But I was over there one year, and there was this crystal quartz cluster that was probably 9-10 inches wide and probably long and about 4 inches wide, that was pink. And it was hematite, a light layering of hematite on it. Well, I picked it up, and it had a price on it. And I'm like, that's more than I want to spend. And I turned it over, and there was a second price tag on it for $25. And the guy walked over. He says, "So do you like that?" I said, "Well, I'm confused." And I showed him the price on one side, and I flipped it over, and he goes, "Well, in good conscience, I can't charge you the higher price." And I'm like,
That's awesome.
"Okay, I'll take it." You know, I mean, so like I said, the ones that you're supposed to have are going to find their way to you. And like I said, I don't foresee ever getting rid of that piece because it is one of the most calming pieces I've ever owned.
So you guys say that they have a way of finding you.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go back to where Tully was getting ready to go earlier with the curse stones, like like the Hope Diamond. And
I was going to say, yeah, the Hope Diamond's going to be the most that
Black
everybody's.
Olive or whatever. Do you think that those have a way of finding you too? And what would make those? What makes one stone inherently more evil than like the stones that cure you, basically?
Well, I was thinking, like Hadley was talking earlier, it's that that memory, that they absorb and everything. And I find that from just what I've looked at and everything, like with the Hope Diamond, only a certain class of people are ever going to have that stone.
Yeah.
So is it, that it's being, physically moved to people because, they have the money to do it and that they are never really supposed to have it? Does it have to do with the way that they found it?
Well, the only people touching the Hope Diamond are lizard people. So
It's at the Smithsonian. I've seen it.
Uh-huh. Yep. It's been there for several decades.
I wonder why they don't lock that up with everything else like that we're not allowed to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you notice since it's been in the Smithsonian, though, there doesn't seem to be anything else attached to it. It's the people who actually physically owned it. So maybe it was never meant to be owned by an individual or the individuals that had it.
How long has it been in the Smithsonian?
Oh, I don't know.
Should it have happened to been around 2012, 2010? Because, I mean, it seems to be owned by, doesn't the United States of America own the Smithsonian?
1958.
Oh, never mind then. Well, I mean, it's been a steady decline since then, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been there since 58. So obviously nobody wanted to keep it at that point.
Maybe it's like one of those trees fall in the woods scenarios to where it has to have somebody wearing it or something.
Maybe so. Oh, yeah, that's pretty.
Am I sharing him?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Bumblebee Jasper is actually a combination of volcanic material, anhydrite, hematite, sulfur, arsenic, etc. Anyway, it's beautiful. And his name is the Professor, and I love him very much.
So that's on the do not lick list.
Yes.
Yeah, I wash my hands after I touch him.
Yep.
And I've got this other thing. I've got
you can almost see eyes in it. That was weird.
This is a ram's horn. I don't know. Am I still sharing?
Yeah.
And it's got a gemstone on it, and it's got ayahuasca, which y'all know I'm obsessed with ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got an ayahuasca like vine on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, we need to use that.
Yeah.
For sure.
If that's a ram's horn, then you need to, next time you go out to the woods by yourself, you need to go out there and you need to blow the ram's horn. See what happens.
It's not that kind of ram's horn.
Oh.
But yeah, it's great. I got some really good stuff when that stuff was on sale.
Yeah. That's a lot of times that's when you have to do it because some stuff is just so out of reach. When New Vibrations closed, I got several things that I would have never been able to get before.
I don't know a lot about malachite.
Malachite is the green stone, isn't it?
Ma'am?
It's the green stone, isn't it?
Yes. That has like the black striations and stuff to
I need to
it.
see what this looks like.
It's pretty common, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's beautiful.
Oh yeah. I love it. And like I said, it's one of those things I have 2 or 3 pieces of. It does
very unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's it is a feminine stone, considered a feminine stone. So, they used to use it a lot with women in labor because it was supposed to help, with labor pains.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I could see it helping with money, Linda.
Mm-hmm. Right. With it being green, green stones tend to kind of have that energy a lot of times.
I need a ton of that.
You talking about crystals finding you has me wondering, because most of the crystals and stuff that I have are like these dark quartz crystals and stuff.
Well, I think that the energy that you're supposed to have will find its way to you. Like what you need or what you're lacking or what you need clarification on.
I shared this earlier, but probably the coolest thing that I own, in my opinion, is this very soft sandstone orb that looks like Jupiter.
Mm-hmm. So, do you know the history on that? Where it
came? Found? It came from Arizona.
Was it found in a riverbed or something?
I'm not honestly. I don't know that much history about it. It was. I mean, obviously they had it on one of those polishers, like they would put the gem orbs on.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so unique. I can't remember how much I paid for it because it's been probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember it was not cheap.
Do you think that's what they used to take fake pictures of the outer space with?
Could be.
It came from Hollywood.
Land of greenstones don't help me either, but
yeah,
supposedly green's the money color.
With that right there, I've only found one stone that's almost perfectly round, and but I don't know.
Yeah,
didn't find any others in the area that matched it.
I probably should have mentioned this earlier. You were talking about like your mom had like always collecting stones when they were out, or when she was out. So every time I'm out on the river, I always come back with a backpack full of rocks and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is something y'all should talk about with Tracy sometime, because in part of her class, and I didn't get to go to this part of it, so I need to retake the class. But in the shamanism stuff, you go and you journey and you communicate with plants and rocks and minerals. So I would just maybe put that on your list of stuff to talk with about her or talk to her about. There's probably a reason there, like with the feathers.
Yeah, just like some of the rocks just I don't know that I would say they call to me, but I think they look really cool, and I grab them just to bring them back, because sometimes it'll be stuff like that saying that like right angles don't exist in nature and stuff like that. I'll find rocks that look like they've just been carved.
Wow. And, have you ever found a hagstone?
I don't know what that is.
A hagstone is like a rock that has been worn down to where it has a circle within it.
Like a hole?
Yeah.
Yes, I have found a couple of those.
Those, if you look through them, you're supposed to be able to see through like the fairy and stuff that you're not able to see with your naked eye.
I'll have to go dig it out. I'll show you. I'll send you guys a picture of it.
You need to make some glasses out of that, man.
Yeah, I just posted something on one of the groups, which I don't know you're not on Facebook, but it was about the hagstones, because I refer to them in one of my books, and somebody had said that their husband and them found one out camping in Arkansas last weekend.
This is going to sound morbid, but I'll also come back with bones whenever we go out on the river.
I always ask my friends that hunt to keep their bones for me, because you might have a use for them. I would love to make some bone runes, or some antler runes.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna love this. My 10-year-old granddaughter, they have a friend who makes witch bottles, and she usually has stones, herbs, and some kind of bone in them. So she now only wants chicken to eat that has bones in them, so she can take Mary the bones when she's done.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, so because you're like, okay, why do you all of a sudden want chicken with bones? So I have to take bones to Mary. I'm like, okay.
I've never dedicated much time to chakra work, Laura. I don't know if any of the other folks have.
I think that the ones that people use for alignment are fine, but I use what feels right, regardless of what the purpose it originally is supposed to be for. Like I said, I think everybody has a general all-purpose stone that they use. Mine would be amethyst. If nothing else feels right, I can usually go with amethyst and be good. But I think that some people, that's what they use them for, and it works for them. I think it's like most things, it comes down to intent. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, Laura, send me that information. Laura said that she has a friend that's got a shop. I think she's in Texas. So if you could just send me that information, well, I'll be happy to post about her shop too.
Yeah, anytime I'm out like canoeing or something, if I see like just a random bone, I always grab it. Like, to me, that's the same thing as like finding feathers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
How many feathers have you found the last several weeks?
A few.
Mm-hmm.
Found one white one.
More than I expected. Found a bunch.
That's why we have to have Tracy on at least like once a quarter if she could do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to send her the list. but yeah, like I said, I think that everybody's got things that call to them, but it's when you start really becoming aware that you start using them more, for your own benefit and everything. If I did not have crystals and stones all around me at all times, I don't know that I'd function well, because I've even got a pair, and it's funny because this was a non-Christian person, non-religious at all, made me a set of prayer beads. And she's like, I felt like you needed those. And they stay on my desk. And when I'm aggravated, I can pick them up and rub up and down them, and it calms me down. It may be that they're long enough, I could probably get them around someone's neck if I needed to. But I like to think it's the stones that are doing it.
Is there a more unholy way of choking somebody out?
There you go. That's it. Guys, let us know, what kind of stones you like, what you use them for and everything, because we're about at our time for tonight. So
also, any topics that you would like to hear us talk about, because we're building next year's list.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, we are. We're working diligently, and I promise next year there will be a CERN night.
Season 3 of Weird Realities begins on Halloween.
Yes.
So y'all be prepared.
Yep. All right. Well, guys, we're going to call that. And as always, let us know what you like, what you want to see more of. And until next time, stay weird.